Step 6, choose your furniture. You are now half of the way there to designing your own fantastic room. So let's move on to step 6, choosing your furniture. There are many considerations to what type of furniture you will want to buy. The main considerations I will be discussing today include functionality and size. First, let's discuss functionality. And of course, we need to break this down room by room. For a family or living room, you'll need to reference the main activities that you wrote down earlier on your guide that will be taking place here, and ensure that you include furniture pieces that will meet all of the needs of your key activities for that particular room. For example, if you just want a place to talk and entertain, then ensure you have plenty of seating. This could include a couch and 2 chairs, 2 couches, or a sectional and a chair. You can also include ottomans as extra seating tucked away under a console table or next to a coffee table. Other furniture for a family or a living room could include side tables, console tables, coffee table, or a bar cart. By the way, you don't have to use a bar cart to hold alcohol, especially if you have kids in the house. You can decorate it with glasses, vases, books, candles, or just about anything. Then, when you want to entertain, it can be used for its originally intended purpose of holding alcohol and barware. Now, for a dining room, obviously you'll have a dining table, but you should also consider including a buffet or server, a console table, or even a bookcase or 2. For a bedroom, obviously you'll need a bed, 1 or 2 nightstands, and possibly a dresser, a side chair with a side table, 2 side chairs, or a desk. So let's go ahead and look at some sample furniture layouts for each type of room, because you really should choose what furniture layout you want before you begin shopping for furniture. For your family room or your living room, here are some example furniture layouts. For a dining room, here are some example furniture layouts. And for your bedroom, here are some example furniture layouts. My advice is to pick a layout that you like and try to replicate that in your room. How do you pick one? By looking for a layout that meets the needs of what activities will be taking place there. So let's look again at the family and or living room layouts. I would go with option A if I want this room to be more about conversation and entertaining, but I would go with B if this is the primary TV room. C is a great option of how to zone a room so that you can have an area for conversation and an area for working on a hobby like crafting. For bedrooms, option A is if you just need your room for sleeping. Option B gives you a nice area to read and relax in. And option C carves out an area for writing or taking care of bills or other administrative type work. So now that you have an idea of what you want to put in your room, and therefore what your floor layout should look like, now let's talk about the size of your pieces. Again, this is where I think most people get it wrong. They don't buy the right size of pieces for their space, and they end up with a room that looks too crowded or off balance. But now that you've measured your room, you're on your way to never, ever making this mistake again. Here's how. Remember the floor plan you drew on page 1 of your guide? Go ahead and take a look at that, as you'll need it for this part. Here's what you're going to do. Go ahead and draw in the pieces of furniture that you want. I recommend making them generally box shape to make it easy. For example, draw a sofa like this, a chair like this, and a table like this. Once you've drawn in all of your pieces in the floor layout you want, now here is the most important thing you are going to do. Measure the distance between each piece of furniture that you've drawn. Make sure that you have at least 3 feet for each main passageway into and throughout the room. How do you do this on paper? Remember, we are drawing in half-inch scale, so take the 3 feet and divide it by 2, which is 1.5 or 1.5 inches. Here are some other key measurements. Make sure that you have about 1.5 feet between your coffee table and your sofa, which would be 3/4 of an inch on your paper. And make sure that you have about 2 feet or a little less between areas that people need to pass through, which would be 1 inch on your paper. Also, make sure that the furniture is balanced and spread throughout the room, meaning no big empty spaces like this. In fact, I aim to have something in every corner of a room, even if it's just a large plant. And that's a good way to ensure that the room will feel balanced. Finally, be sure to draw in the rug that you plan on buying as well onto your floor plan like this. For a review of these measurements and other key measurements, check out the measurement guide in the resources section of this training lecture. As a reminder, for dining rooms, if you're going to place a rug under your table, then be sure the rug extends at least 2 feet around all edges of the dining table so that your chairs fit comfortably on the rug at all times. For bedrooms, if you are placing a rug under your bed, which I highly recommend you do, again, you want to extend the rug from the bottom 2/3 of the bed about 2 feet around the 3 sides like this. So now that you know what pieces you want, now comes the fun part, finding your furniture pieces. There are obviously lots of great places to shop for furniture, but I highly recommend doing as much as you can online. First, you can view a lot of pieces in a relatively short period of time since you don't have to drive from store to store. Also, some of the major online home decor retailers like Wayfair.com allow you to enter in the measurements of the pieces that you are looking for, which will greatly narrow down your choices. Places like Wayfair.com, Overstock.com, or Hayneedle.com are great because of the huge variety of styles and price points that they have for nearly any type of furniture pieces that you may be shopping for. Once you find a piece of furniture that you like, just make sure that the dimensions are similar to the dimensions that you've drawn in on your floor plan. If the item you love is a little bigger or a little smaller, then simply adjust the size of the shape on your floor plan to match the item. But then you may need to adjust the size of the other items in your floor plan that you haven't yet picked out to maintain the required space for your walkways, between furniture pieces, etc. Now, here's a designer tip for you. What I do and what many designers do once we find a piece of furniture that we intend on recommending to a client or buying for ourselves even, is we copy and paste that image into an application like PowerPoint to create a mood or a design board. We will copy and paste all of the images for that room into one PowerPoint slide so that we can see all of the images together and make sure that all of the pieces are harmonious with each other. A final note about buying furniture. If you are someone who cannot imagine buying a sofa or a chair without sitting in it first, which I completely understand, then definitely choose a store that has both an online presence as well as a brick and mortar store in your area so you can try out the piece in person. While shipping is often free to get to you, it's almost never free to ship it back unless there's a defect. So you don't want to end up having to pay for shipping to return a sofa, for example. Step 7. Choose your wall art and wall decor. For any wall art or wall decor, know that you don't have to match the color or the piece to the color scheme of your room, but it often looks best if you have at least one piece of artwork in the room that has at least some of the colors of your room's color scheme in it. When deciding on what type of wall art to use, you should certainly consider if you prefer photography, abstract art, or more traditional pieces. However, you should also consider the interior design style of your room. For example, abstract artwork works particularly well in styles like contemporary and transitional. Black and white photography is perfect for the industrial and urban modern styles. And reproductions of classic pieces are ideal for traditional and French country interior design. Once you know the style of wall art you would like, you then want to match the artwork to the shape of the space of the wall that you are hanging it on. For example, you should hang a rectangular piece in a rectangular space. In terms of how high you should hang your artwork, another mistake that people often make is that they hang their artwork too high. The center of the picture in general should be hung between 60 and 66 inches or 152 to 168 centimeters from the floor. Be aware that any large wall art that you hang over a couch should be hung about 6 to 10 inches or 15 to 25 centimeters over the back of a couch. A great place to buy large canvas pictures of nearly any type of image is greatbigcanvas.com. Their prices are fantastic as long as you wait until they are having a 40 to 50% off sale, which happens often. If you're going to do a collage of pictures, always lay out all of the pieces on the floor first and aim for consistent space between each picture, whether it's a grid or an eclectic pattern. Take a picture of the collage and write down the measurements between each picture before you begin hanging the different pictures in the collage. Again, try to have the middle of the collage be about 60 to 66 inches or 152 to 168 centimeters from the floor. Besides pictures, other great ideas for wall decor include mirrors, long shelves, which allows you to easily change out artwork anytime you feel like it, a flock of ceramic birds, or any collection of ceramic or metal items, decorative plates, candle sconces, wall sculptures, and wall decals. They really have come a long way. One of my favorite places to find really unique wall decor items is Etsy.com. I also love that I'm supporting individual artists when I buy from Etsy. Step 8. Choose your lighting. Lighting, hands down, is my favorite design element. Lighting really makes all the difference in a room. Too often, people just use one overhead light or a couple of table lamps to try to meet all of their lighting needs, and they are really missing out on an opportunity to add some serious drama to their space. The first rule of lighting is to always, always, always have different layers of lighting. Here is what I mean by layers. Every room should have 3 layers of lighting if at all possible: ambient lighting, task lighting, and accent lighting. First, you should definitely have one or more fixtures that provide ambient lighting or all-over general lighting for your room. Forms of ambient lighting include chandeliers, flush mount lights, semi-flush mount lights, recessed can lights, wall sconces, cove lighting, or a light kit from a ceiling fan. Next, you want to ensure that you have dedicated task lighting for each activity that will be taking place in your room, such as reading, writing, working, food preparation, eating, hobbies, or playing a musical instrument. Examples of common task lighting fixtures include table lamps, floor lamps, desk lamps, track lighting, pendants, and under cabinet lighting. Speaking of pendants, one of my favorite ways to use them is in lieu of table lamps on either side of your bed. This is a really great look for almost any style since there are pendants in nearly any style. Finally, to really take your lighting scheme to the next level, add some accent lighting to areas of the room that you want to draw attention to or highlight. This could include a floor can uplight for a large plant, track lighting or directional recessed can lights to light up artwork, wall decor or sculptures, picture lights for artwork, wall or step recess lights, or one of my favorites, LED strip lights, which can be used in many applications, including inside or under cabinetry, bookcases, open shelving, or in the toe kicks of your kitchen base cabinets or bathroom vanities, just to name a few. Going back to directional recessed can lights for a minute, they not only can be used for lighting artwork, but they can also be used for highlighting architectural details, as can recessed floor lighting. All in all, I always try to have 3 to 5 different light sources in a typical sized room, and I spread them out throughout the room so there aren't any dark corners or areas. Having 3 to 5 different light sources may seem like a lot, but flexibility in lighting allows you to change the mood of a room and ensures that you will always have adequate light so you don't strain your eyes. Speaking of mood, I place as many of my fixtures on dimmers as possible, as dimmers are one of the easiest ways to control the mood of a room through lighting, as well as the lighting level, of course. Here's an example of a room that has a layered lighting scheme. We have recessed can lights as ambient lighting, wall sconces and table lamps for task lighting, LED strip lights in the built-in bookcases, and recessed lights installed to provide wall grazing to the wall treatment on the right side of the room. Great lighting also makes you look good, so don't skimp in this area. In terms of finishes, choose the lighting fixtures to match the color of the hard surfaces in your room. So if you're going with chrome or silver, focus on light fixtures that have this finish. Although I love mixing metal finishes. So an easy way to do this is to choose to have one statement lighting fixture be in a different finish than the other light fixtures, such as this brass chandelier that we see here. Here are some final tips on lighting. In terms of how big a chandelier, pendant, semi-flush, or flush mount light should be for the middle of your room, the standard professional formula is to add the width and length of the room to determine the diameter. For example, if your room is 10 by 14, then the fixture should be around 24 inches. However, I often add on 5 inches to this measurement as I like larger light fixtures. So for a 10 by 14 room, I would look for a fixture that has a diameter between 24 and 29 inches. In the metric system, just add the length and width of the room in meters, divide that number by 12, and then convert to centimeters. Again, I would personally add about 13 centimeters to this measurement for a bit of a more oversized look. In terms of how high to hang chandeliers and pendants, for fixtures that are going to hang over a table or a desk, hang it roughly 30 to 34 inches or 76 to 86 centimeters over the table or desk. For a chandelier that is going to hang in the middle of the room, the bottom of the fixture should hang no lower than 7 feet or 2.1 meters from the finished floor for adequate walking clearance. For pendants over an island, hang them 30 to 36 inches or 76 to 91 centimeters above the island, depending upon how tall the people are in your house, as you don't want the lights to impede their view. For wall sconces, hang them so that the light source is roughly 66 to 72 inches or 168 to 183 centimeters from the finished floor, again depending upon how tall the people are in your home, as the light source in the sconce should be roughly at eye level. For a review of these measurements and other important lighting measurements, check out the measurement guide in the resources section. The best places to purchase lighting in a variety of styles and price points includes Lamps Plus, Shades of Light, Wayfair.com, and Overstock.com. For some stunning higher-end fixtures, check out YLighting.com and CircaLighting.com. Step 9. Choose your window coverings. To me, a room doesn't really look finished without window coverings. Window coverings are essential for both aesthetic and functional reasons. as window coverings can provide warmth in the winter by helping to hold the heat inside, and keeping a space cooler in the summer by blocking or filtering the sunlight. Most common types of window coverings include curtains or drapes, blinds, vertical blinds, shades, and shutters. So with all these choices, what type of window covering should you choose? I personally like having a combination of shades and drapes in a room like this. To further help you narrow down your choices, also consider what style you have chosen for your room or home. For a contemporary, mid-century modern, industrial, or urban modern look, great window covering choices would include flat Roman shades, roller blinds, wood blinds, or very simple and clean drapes. For a traditional style, formal and heavy curtains or drapes are a must, but hobbled Roman shades are also a great choice. For a transitional style, any window covering will generally work. For a coastal chic look, consider light and airy curtains or drapes, simple Roman shades, shutters, or light filtering roller shades in a natural material. For a Scandinavian or Zen style, go with simple light colored curtains or light filtering roller shades. For French country, consider curtains or drapes, Roman shades, or shutters. For a Bohemian style, consider richly colored or patterned curtains or drapes, wood blinds, and Roman shades. For farmhouse and Western, you can use simple curtains or drapes, wood blinds, and for just farmhouse, shutters are also a great choice. Remember that they do come in different colors other than white. They look great in a dark espresso color and come in other shades such as natural wood colors and even gray and black. Now, in terms of color, you can either choose to have it be a shade of the neutral you've chosen for your room. For example, if your neutral is gray, go for light or dark gray drapes or shades, or choose to have it be a shade of one of your accent colors. You can make the window coverings the same color as the wall, but I like to provide some contrast for visual interest. Unless you have a small room, in which case I would match the window coverings to the paint color, as unity of a color, particularly a light color, helps a small room to feel larger. Another point about small rooms is if you are going to have a pattern on your window coverings, choose a small pattern. Larger patterns are best used in larger rooms. Also, unless you have a really high ceiling, hang the curtains as high and as wide as you can, about 4 to 5 inches from the ceiling, and then have the curtain rod extend about 12 inches or more on each side of the window. This makes your windows look much larger than they really are. This means for the standard 8-foot ceiling, you want to purchase curtains or drapes that are 96 inches. Now, I know you're thinking that is 8 feet, which is the same height. But here's a designer trick for you. Take them to a seamstress and have them hemmed about 5 inches up from the bottom. So now you have curtains or drapes that are 91 inches in length and they'll look custom. You can do this with any drape from any price point. For a 9-foot ceiling, go with 108-inch curtain panels and again have them hemmed 5 to 6 inches from the bottom. Now, another important point. I generally will get my drapes altered before I hang them up on the drapery rod. Once my drapes are altered, I'll either slide them onto the drapery rod or hang them from the rod on curtain rings. Either way is fine. And then I'll have someone hold up the drapery rod with the drapes on them so I can make sure that the drapes hit the floor at exactly the right point before I install my drapery rod. So this will tell my installer exactly where the curtain rod should be hung. Here are some additional tips when choosing window coverings. For curtains and drapes, always ensure that they always hit the ground. Otherwise, they look like someone who is wearing pants that are simply too short for them. Not good. Or your drapes can even pool on the ground by a couple of inches if you like a more formal or a romantic look. Window coverings throughout the house do not have to match, but they should be complementary. For example, the same type of covering, Roman shades, or just similar colors. The smaller the home, the more important it is to have your window coverings be cohesive. Finally, for shades and drapes, consider whether you need a room darkening liner, which is a must in my opinion for bedrooms, but also a good choice for all of the rooms in your home. My go-to retail location for custom window shades and blinds is blinds.com, but my go-to place for curtains and drapes at various price points is wayfair.com and overstock.com.
Here we are at the final step. Step 10, choose your accessories and greenery. In terms of accessories, think of them like jewelry for a room. They really elevate any space and give a room great character. Accessories can come from items you've accumulated over the years, for example, from your travels, or they can all be purchased at a place like Home Goods or Crate and Barrel. Examples of accessories include, but are not limited to, pillows, throw blankets, framed pictures, vases, bowls, barware, trays, sculptures, books, coasters, candles and candle holders, lanterns, collections, clocks, nature items, flowers, and plants. Just a quick note about collections. Do try to limit one main collection to a room, otherwise it starts to look cluttered and loses its ability to be a focal point. I mentioned at the beginning that accessories add character to a room, but they do so much more than that. One of their most important functions is to help reinforce the style of the room. Let me explain. While some furniture pieces clearly belong to a certain style, such as the obvious mid-century modern furniture we see here, other furniture pieces can be used in multiple styles, such as this clean line sofa. So if you have a room in which the style is not immediately apparent from the furniture, you can easily reinforce the style through accessories. Just take a look at these groups of accessories. Clearly, these accessories belong in the Zen or Japanese style, these belong in the Art Deco style, and these belong in the industrial or steampunk styles. Additionally, accessories allow you to layer in additional texture, which is critical to great room design. Whether it's a variety of different colored pillows on a sofa or carefully styled bookcases, there's no question that accessories adds great visual interest and texture to a room. Finally, accessories can tell a story about who you are and those who live in your home. Most people don't want to live in a house that feels like a staged home. Rather, we use personal mementos like framed photos, concert posters, or items from our travels to make our home feel uniquely personal. It's these items that bring a different level of happiness to a space. That said, I have 7 rules that I have successfully used repeatedly when accessorizing any particular space, whether that's a bookcase, a coffee table, a console table, a dining table, a fireplace mantel, etc. First, look to decorate items in groups that share some sort of similarity. For example, a color palette, a theme, or that share a purpose, such as vases or candles. Second, I typically, although not always, use odd numbers in a grouping. Odd numbers always looks great though, and be sure to keep the tallest item in the back. Third, I vary the height and scale of my accessories. Fourth, I try to include books as they allow you to easily add color and height to my vignettes. Fifth, I try to ensure that some of the accessories in the room reflect one or more of my room's accent colors, as repetition of color is important to creating harmony, another important design element. Sixth, I usually include something from nature, such as flowers, plants, driftwood, etc., as these items naturally add a feeling of warmth to the display. Seventh and finally, When in doubt, formal symmetry always works, meaning using the same item on each side of the vignette. Formal symmetry always makes a vignette, as well as a room, feel incredibly polished and pulled together. Now let's take a look at these rules in action. Here we have a styled bookcase, and you'll see that I've used every rule in this design. First, you can see that I've grouped items together based on both color and a coastal theme. You can see I've used odd numbers here and here. I've varied the height and scale most noticeably here. I've obviously included books. Given that the large amount of blue in this design, it's safe to say that blue is one of the accent colors of the room. I've included 2 items from nature, and I've used formal symmetry here. As a result, the entire bookcase feels cohesive and pulled together. So do I style every flat surface in a room? Unless I'm trying to create some negative space in a room designed in the contemporary or minimalist styles, then yes, I do. Whether that's a single striking accessory on a coffee table or a more carefully layered console table, I again accessorize the flat surfaces to reinforce style, add texture, and tell a story about the people who live there. Now, for a special word on plants. Always, always include greenery in a room. It's one of the main elements that people forget, but can make a big difference, whether it's real or a great faux version. If you've ever visited a model home, you will always see at least a couple of plants in each room. This is because greenery adds instant warmth to a room and has the added benefit of providing oxygen if the plant is real. While one plant is great, I think 2 is often better. This could be a tall plant, which is a great way to fill a corner, and a small plant on your coffee table. Or it could be 2 large plants or trees flanking the sides of a fireplace or placed in opposite corners of your focal point wall for formal symmetry. While many varieties of plants work in many styles, there are some classic or well-suited choices for certain styles. Specifically, palm trees are a great choice for coastal and Art Deco styles. Yuccas or Madagascar dragon trees are ideal in contemporary spaces. Fiddle leaf figs look so good in transitional style rooms. Cactuses are a favorite for mid-century modern, industrial, urban modern, and Western styles. And there are some great looking faux cactuses on the market today, so no need to be scared. Ferns are lovely in traditional and French country homes. Boxwoods and wreaths are common in farmhouse. Bonsais, of course, are a natural for the Zen style. And any type of plant seems to work well in Scandinavian and Bohemian-styled homes. Trying to find great silk plants can often be hit or miss, but some of my favorite places that I've had good luck on generally include nearlynatural.com, West Elm, and Wayfair.com.